The Japanese defenders at Iwo Jima built 18 kilometers of tunnels inside a dormant volcano. They had orders not to defend the beaches. They let 70,000 Americans land. Then they opened fire from positions that did not exist on any map the Americans had. You are 19 years old and you are from Dayton, Ohio, where your mother works the early shift at a national cash register plant on Stewart Street. The thing you know best before all of this is the sound of that factory at 6 in the morning, the particular rhythm of the machines through the wall of the house next door. A sound so regular you stopped hearing it sometime around age 12 and only noticed it again the morning you left for boot camp. And it was there, and you understood for the first time that it had always been there. You are a private first class in the 3rd Platoon, Easy Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division. You are on a transport ship in the darkness, 10 miles off the coast of an island called Iwo Jima, 8 square miles of volcanic rock and sulfur sand in the western Pacific. Your platoon commander, Lieutenant Graves, told the platoon 3 days ago the island would be secured in 5 days. He said the naval bombardment had been the most concentrated in the history of amphibious warfare. He said the Japanese positions would be neutralized before the first Marines hit the beach. He said this looking at a map of the island and not at the men he was saying it to, which is a way of saying things that you have learned to notice. You cannot sleep. You are lying in your rack in the hold of the Hansford with 40 other men, and the ship is moving slowly and the smell is diesel and sweat and the particular smell of men who have been confined together long enough that the ventilation has stopped being adequate. Above you through the hull you can hear the sound of the naval guns firing at the island, a continuous low percussion that you feel more than hear. You think about the factory on Stewart Street, and the way that sound also came through walls, also arrived as a vibration before it arrived as a sound. You have a photograph in the breast pocket of your dungaree jacket, your mother standing in front of the house on Stewart Street, squinting into the sun because your uncle put her facing east in the afternoon, and she was too polite to say anything about it. You have looked at it so many times that the crease down the middle has started to separate. You do not look at it tonight. You lie in the dark and you listen to the guns work on the island, and you think about 5 days and you think that 5 days is specific enough to be believable. You believe it the way you believe things that are specific, which is more than you believe things that are general, which is still not completely. The ramp goes down at 0905 and you step off it into black volcanic sand that is not sand the way sand is sand but something finer and deeper, each step sinking to the ankle. The weight of your pack and rifle, and ammunition and the 7 pounds of flamethrower fuel canister you are carrying for a man named Kowalski pushes you down into it. The beach is 40 meters of this before the first terrace and then 500 meters of open ground to the base of Suribachi, the volcanic mountain at the southern tip, black and massive and entirely quiet. The naval guns have stopped. The island is quiet. You move up the beach with your section, 14 men crossing the black sand in the particular crouched run of men who have been told that running upright is a decision with consequences. You reach the first terrace, a ridge of compacted volcanic ash 3 meters high. You go over it, and you are on the flat ground beyond it, and the island is still quiet. You think, for a period of time you will later be unable to measure, that the lieutenant was right and the bombardment worked and 5 days is the correct number. Then it stops being quiet. The fire comes from directions you cannot identify, not from Suribachi, not from the north, from somewhere that is not a direction in the way directions work on surfaces you can see. From below and inside, and adjacent to the ground itself, from positions that have no visible components, no muzzle flash you can locate, no aperture you can point at. Only the sound arriving and then the man to your left, going down and then the sound again from a different direction, and then the man behind you going down. You are flat on the volcanic ash before you have decided to be there. You count and there are 9 men visible from your position, where there were 14 when the ramp went down. The 5 who are not visible may be forward, or they may be down, or they may be in positions you cannot see from where you are pressed into this black ground that smells of sulfur, like something that has been burning for a long time and is not finished. You do not know where the fire is coming from. This is the thing nobody told you. Not that there would be fire, you knew there would be fire, that you would not be able to find it, that the island would produce casualties the way weather produces rain, from a general condition rather than a specific source, and you would lie in it and absorb it and not be able to point at the thing doing it. You are 19 years old and you are on an island that smells like burning and you do not know where the enemy is. You will never see this, but this is what was happening 9 meters below the ground you were lying on. General Suribachi had 21,000 men in 2 years and a volcano. He drove 18 kilometers of tunnels through the rock, connected by chambers and cross passages, ventilated by shafts, deep enough that the naval bombardment reached only the surface. The positions were designed so that fire from one covered the approach to another, so that eliminating one exposed the attacker to the next, so that the island functioned as a single interlocking system with no front and no rear. Suribachi told his men that each of them should kill 10 Americans before dying. He did not expect any of them to survive. The men in the tunnels below you had been underground for weeks, in the dark, eating their rations cold because fires created smoke that rose through the ventilation shafts and gave away positions. They heard the naval bombardment above them for 74 days and they waited. When it stopped, they came up. You did not see them come up, you only felt what they did when they got there. The battle for Iwo Jima lasts 36 days. In those 36 days, the 5th Marine Division alone suffers 8,563 casualties. The flag goes up on Suribachi on day 4, which you see from a position 400 meters to the north, where your platoon is working through a series of bunkers that connect underground in ways that mean taking one does not clear it, only relocates the problem. You learn to fight the island the way you learn any environment that is trying to kill you, by paying attention to the details that are inconsistent. The patch of ground that erupts without a visible source. The depression that is 10 centimeters deeper than the surrounding terrain for no geological reason. The ventilation shaft opening that looks like a natural crack in the rock until it does not. You learn to call for the flamethrower when you find one, and you learn what the flamethrower does when it reaches into a position, and you learn to keep moving after because stopping is the decision with consequences. On day 9, a man from your platoon named Kowalski, whose fuel canister you carried off the beach on day 1, is killed by fire from a position you thought had been cleared. He is 21 years old and from Milwaukee, and the thing you know about him, besides his name and his age and his city, is that he had a habit of saving the crackers from his sea rations and eating them last. Always last, saving the plainest thing for the end. You noticed this because it is not what anyone else does, and you never asked him why. You keep moving. The island smells of sulfur constantly, the smell arriving before anything else, arriving at the back of the throat, and after 36 days the smell is the island, and the island is the smell. You will find it again years later at a gas station on a highway in Ohio, and your body will respond before your mind does. The way it has learned to respond to things that arrive before their source is visible. They put you on a transport ship on March 28, 2 days after the island is declared secured. Secured is a word that applies to the surface and not to the 3,000 Japanese soldiers still alive inside the tunnel network who will continue to emerge from the ground in ones and twos for months after the flag has been planted. You are on the ship for 4 days before you can sleep without waking. On the 5th day, you take out the photograph of your mother on Stewart Street, and you look at it and the crease down the middle has separated completely now, the photograph in 2 pieces held together by the habit of being folded. Your mother is squinting into the sun in the east-facing afternoon light, and behind her the house is exactly as it was the Sunday you left and the factory next door is not visible in the photograph, but you know it is there. You fold it back along the crease and put it in your pocket. 800 Marines died on Iwo Jima. 19,117 were wounded. Of the 21,000 Japanese defenders, 216 were taken prisoner. You do not know the numbers yet. You know the smell of sulfur and you know what a ventilation shaft looks like when it is not a natural crack in the rock. And you know that Kowalski saved his crackers for last, and you never asked him why, and now the question has nowhere to go. The ship moves east. The factory on Stewart Street is either running or it is not, and the sound is either coming through the wall of the house next door or it is not. And your mother is either on the early shift or she is not. You look at the ocean, and the ocean is the same ocean it has always been, and below it there is nothing you need to identify and nothing that is going to come up through the floor without warning. You breathe the salt air. It does not smell like sulfur. Not yet.